Hi guys, David back again with another video for Lonesome Dog Studios. Today I'm going to be showing you just how to use your voicings in a different way, how to change your chords just by moving the notes around. Let's get into it. Okay, cool. So kind of leading on from my last video, we're going to use some concepts that we used before. I would say this video is like a solid intermediate level. So you should know your way around, basic 4-chord progressions. You know how to use extensions. You know where all the chords are. You know where they want to go, that kind of stuff. I'll explain everything, of course, so don't worry if you get a little bit lost. You can always rewind and just check over. But we're going to talk about how different voicings of chords can change the meaning of them and how the sound can be very different. And what I mean by that is just how close together the notes are can make it sound completely different to how the notes are spread out. And this is very useful for, very similar to my last video, just increasing the interest in progressions. You can change your voicing the second time round in a chorus, for example, or the second time round in a verse, just to make it feel like, the song's opening up a little bit, that kind of thing. It's a very useful trick. It's good to know. So let's use 3 different voicings here and try them out in your own stuff. See if they work, see how they go. Okay, cool. So the first voicing is a cluster chord, also known as kind of secondal harmony. I won't go into the kind of the deep theory of what that means, but effectively we're not building chords based on intervals of thirds. So for example, in like a D minor 7 chord, we're building notes with minor third intervals, minor third interval, minor third interval, minor third interval. So everything's being built on a third. Secondal harmony or cluster chords kind of work on a base of a 2. So for example, let me show you, if I play this kind of sound, every note close together, sounds quite messy to begin with. But if we add in a root note, we've got a very kind of closed sound, and that sounds completely different to what we had before. We're effectively playing all the same notes here. So if I play this again over a D, you can see, we've got the root here, we've got the 7, we've got the 9, what we've got down here, the 11, and then 13 here as well. So it's all very clustered in, all very close together, but exactly the same chord, it still functions the same as a normal D minor 11 or D minor 13 sound. It just sounds completely different. So if you're starting a song out and you need to use this chord, this cluster voicing here might work perfectly for you. So there's an example for it in minor. This could also work kind of here. A bit more standard. We've got the 9 down low. We can have the 7th down low as well. Just clustering notes in together creates such a different texture and really adds interest to a very boring piece. If you've worked out your progression and it's all sounding very, very stale and very samey, think about how you can voice your chords differently. It makes such a big difference. Okay, so that's the first one. Very simple, just cluster all of your notes together, put them all really close together and see how that sound works for you. The next step is what I would describe as maybe a standard voicing, something to maybe lay down and then decide later if you want to change. You saw this in my last video, I used it loads, is this kind of minor 9 shape. Very common. It derives from the Kenny Barron chord, which looks something like this, which is a really nice open sound. Kenny Barron used this a lot in his pieces. We've got the 11 all the way at the top there. I condensed that down, just like that. So I just add in a few more. So as you can see, this one is built off tertiary harmony or off thirds. So we're just stacking up the thirds there. It's a nice sound. I think the left hand kind of does all the work in this one. That kind of sound with the 1, 5, and 9. And then putting that on the top. It's a nice sound, a good bass for sure. So if you're thinking of using this kind of harmony in your songs, get that down, and then figure out if you want to go, less, or if you want to go more afterwards. That kind of thing. So a good starting place, a very open sound, but again, still a D minor sound. We've not changed any of the notes. We've just moved them around, which is cool. Everything changes just based on where those notes go. So yeah, a good middle ground, this one for sure. So the third one, this one's slightly different, not to everyone's taste, definitely a very specific sound. Something like this. And this is based on quartal harmony. So just like I've explained before, secondal harmony based on intervals of 2s, tertiary harmony based on the third interval, or the interval of a third. This one's based on 4ths. And as you can see, everything is a perfect 4th apart. Now, the interesting thing about this, and also the interesting thing about secundal harmony, the first step that we went through, they're very ambiguous. I know I've been telling you that they're based on D minor, or at least, you know, the one that I did before was based on D minor. They can be used for anything. So if you're wanting to expand your horizons in your songs a little bit, you can sub out these chords very easily. So, for example, this one here, this chord here can be kind of anything. You'll see the screen's telling me A minor 7 with an 11 over E. It's a bit wordy. It wouldn't be what I would describe it. It's only saying that because we're playing this sound and then putting an E down there. This can kind of be anything you want. It all depends on, you know, context, where you put it in your song, what's coming after it, what's coming before it, that kind of thing, what your bass is playing. There's loads of factors to tell you what the chord actually is doing. And I'll show you now, for example. So for now, we play these notes up here. Let's say the bass is now playing a C underneath it. You know, we've got a nice 6/9 sound here. There we go, C6/9. I'm so glad it said that. I was worried that I had the wrong chord, but no, we're all good. So yeah, up here with C, a nice 6/9. So very open sounding C chord. If you don't want to resolve to your normal, you can go for this nice open sound over a C. Interesting, but exactly the same notes with a different bass note gives us a completely different chord. So again, the same notes, but we put it over an F now. F major 9 with a 13. Makes this chord sound completely different. You know, you could just have 3 or 4 instruments, or maybe 5 if you want to put every single note on a different instrument. 5 instruments playing this up the top, and your bass playing that. And the bass moves. You know, you've got progression there, and you've not moved any notes. So that's the good thing about this particular harmony, using chordal harmony. It's very ambiguous. You know, this sound could be moved anywhere. You can sub in chords for other chords very easily because, you know, the notes don't change between the chords. If you remember in my last video, I was talking about how when the voices lead to the next chord, it sounds nice. This one's, you know, a million times steps better because we're not moving any voices. The voices are staying exactly the same. One thing to bear in mind, you know, if you're really trying to expand your horizons, if you're going to write some new interesting stuff, break out of your normal progressions, then, you know, we've got a very interesting sound here with just very, very simple notes. Get fancy if you want to, you know, we're really looking at extensions there. And just a little tip, this one's quite well known, this kind of sound, the chordal harmony over these notes, it's quite well known, but you can kind of make anything work with anything. I know that's a bit of a loaded sentence, but you can kind of play whatever you want if you can justify it, if that makes sense. One good tip for this is, let's say we wanted kind of like a C dominant sound. So in root, obviously just a basic C7 sound. If we play our E and B flat in the left hand like this, if we play a D over that, we get one sound, which works over this C dominant. We get another sound. And all we're doing is moving this major chord around on the top, you see. And that can change for anything, you know. If you can justify these all work. You'll see on the screen, Chordy's doing me a solid here by telling you this stuff, but all of these are chords. You know, there's an E minor 11 flat 5. If you can figure out how to make an E minor 11 flat 5 sound good here, there's no reason you can't just sub it in for an E diminished major 7, and then if you want to sub that in for an F sharp 7 over E, you know, it's all the same notes, which is the cool thing about modern jazz harmony and modern harmony. There's only 12 notes, and there's only so much. I know there's infinite possibilities, but everything can work with everything. You just need to understand the function of everything, where notes go, what they mean, that kind of thing. But this video is not going to be long enough for me to explain all of that to you. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much it. Let's just recap everything. So the first thing we spoke about is a closed cluster voicing, you know, secundal harmony, very close together. You know, notes all clustered together. I'm literally just, all 5 of my fingers are just landing on the keys, and we're playing bass notes over it. Very closed, very dark kind of sound. Next, we went to this kind of Kenny Barron style chord, which looked a little bit like this. You know, one of those variations. So very open sound, good starting place. So if you don't know where you want to take your piece, lay down these chords and then figure out if you want to make them a bit darker or a bit brighter with the other ones that we've mentioned today. So that looked like this. Let me just play that again for you. So that's my kind of go-to voicing, and then the Kenny Barron looks like that. So again, good starting place. And then the third one we went to, of course, was this chordal harmony kind of sound, which looked like this. very flexible, very, very useful. But, you know, pushing the boat out, you know, we're not talking your pop hits here. We're talking about different harmony now. We're exploring quite advanced sounds, I would say. So use with caution, but use it, you know, see if it works. There might be a place for it in your pop songs. You just don't know. I think it's very useful to just give it a go. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for watching again, guys. I appreciate it. I hope this has been helpful. Any questions, leave them down in the comments, and we will catch you in the next one.